Good evening, good morning, whatever time it is for you that you've tuned in, it doesn't matter. We're always alive on the Dead Money podcast. Did you see what I did there? Ha 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 ha. But all right, what an exciting show we have today, because entering the Dead Money Dan Arfin Studios is its second ever guest of all time. Once I'm done rambling on about him, you're going to hear from Las Vegas cash game poker pro Brent Jenkins. Now, the first time I ever laid eyes on Brent was at 2-5 at the Wynn. And like most people who I first encountered at the table, I thought Brent was just another dumb fuck douchebag looking schmuck. Not because of anything he did, although I guess he did kind of have this smug, you don't know what you guys are in for type of look on his face, but I mostly hated him because I have an exceptionally low opinion of myself. So much that I myself would never give me the time of day. And this, of course, has much to do with why I detest so many people I play with. But I kind of think I'm the man, too. And so do tons of people. And surely that must be why so many people who I once hated eventually grew on me. Including, and especially, Brent. But we're not here for bromance today. Brent is not that important to the grand poker world. If he got hit by a train or a flying piano, no one in the poker community would care that Brent Jenkins is no longer part of it. If anything, people would be happy about it. Same as me. We'd both be just another reg who disappeared one day. Boo-hoo. Now, Brent is a very weird person, which is, funny coming from me. He's also funny. Brent is not as weird as me. He's definitely not as funny as me, but he's still probably as big of a loser as I am. He's nodding his head. And that's mostly why I brought him on the show. I mean, I think the two of us could really use the company of one another, so we don't have to feel too alone. But I'll tell you something else. Brent plays a style that is so unpredictable, so his table presence brings something to a poker game that most people cannot, but that many recreational players come out to see. The people who play for entertainment and just want to see crazy shit happen dream of playing with guys like Brent because he is a lag. He is loose-aggressive. And he's one of only so many players I've encountered over all these years where I sort of feel like I have to build every decision around him because he's capable of poking his head out of the water at any time and shooting a mortar at you. That first day I sat with Brent, I got into a hand with him that I have no real memory of. All I know is he jammed the river and I folded, so I most likely had the best hand. At the time, though, I just treated him like I treated most unknowns, and it was a spot where I just assumed he had it, and maybe he did. But either way, I've never really understood how to be a lag. On what few occasions I've ever tried, it just felt forced and like I had no idea what to do and I was just spewing. So the only thing I can tell you about playing lag poker is it's the hardest style to play, but that if you do it properly, it is also the most profitable style because nothing disorients a person more than a lag will. Most people come in there with their nitty, boring, and subtly spewing, unimaginative strategy that is actually way less creative and way more predictable than they think it is. But then they go up against someone like Brent, who is one of those guys people have nightmares of because he's just going to do all kinds of shit that makes you uncomfortable. And if he's on point, you're just going to end up dumping piles to him that you'd have never dumped to anyone else. That's the impact of lags. They get you stuffing piles and piles of dough into spots that are completely unfamiliar to you. Now, only Brian can tell you just how effective his style has actually been. All I factually know is he, like myself, has no problem speaking his mind at the table to all of the countless tool-bag, self-righteous prick assholes we must put up with. He brought heavy energy to the anti-straddle movement last year, but we're not going to bother him about that today. I know he's so sick of it that he probably wishes he was just the biggest proponent of straddling all this time, so instead, let's just Start out with a question, and I'll have some more later. And by the way, if I sound like I'm talking to him from outer space from this point on, it's because I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing here. But Brent, welcome to the show. And if you'd be so kind to tell us, please, what's on your crazy fucking lag mind today?
Wow, what an intro. That was quite something. Thank you for that, Dan.
Oh, you're most welcome. I've thought long and hard about what I wanted to say about you, and I decided I'm not going to hold anything back. I have to tell this crowd exactly what they're getting today, and that is just something that fortunately and unfortunately you can't get anywhere else. So welcome to the show, Brent. I don't even want to. I'm a little scared of what you might talk about today, but
so am I.
That's why we got the weed here. We'll be getting this going in a moment.
I don't know if I should be honored or insulted by that intro. I've half a mind to storm out of here right now, to be honest.
Well, it would fit right in with the Dead Money podcast to get on someone's nerves so badly that they just leave in the middle.
First thing I really want to say is, again, thanks for having me on, and I've been a fan of your podcast, your young podcast here. You know, I tuned into the first episode, and I was like, oh, this is the podcast I would have made if I, were less lazy than I am. Like, you were just ranting about all the stupid stuff we have to deal with at low-stakes live poker, and it's just like, I feel like you were narrating my thought process, to the world there, and so I'm like, finally, someone's saying this stuff.
Yeah, I know. I'm here to speak the inner monologue. This is my therapy. You are all my therapists, you especially. So, well, I guess the first thing I would like to know is how long have you been playing this lag style, and why did you start playing it?
Well, I don't even typically think of myself as a lag per se, and part of my process of getting better at poker has learning to be less laggy as I get more experience and learn where to, where I've gone too far and to draw it in some. So, but I mean, naturally, it's just, if you know nothing about poker and you're just playing for the first time, obviously it's more fun to play hands than to not play hands. So the looser you can play, the more fun you can have playing is sort of my philosophy. So I try to find where the bounds are, and then when something's clearly losing, then I will begrudgingly fold instead of play the hand if I've legitimately come to that conclusion. But yeah, it's more fun to play hands than to fold.
Yeah, look, I mean, when I go in there, I don't want to go in there and fold all day, okay? I don't think even the nittiest players in the world want to go in there and fold all day. We want to get in there, we want to play, we want to battle, but, everybody's got their different standard for what they consider to be a battle-worthy hand. And the times I've ever tried to play a lag style, I mean, so you're denying being a lag currently. Is that correct? You're denying this accusation? You wouldn't deny it in the past.
I'm not going to confirm it, but I won't go so far as to deny it either.
Okay, all right. Well, when I play, I mean, whenever I've played and tried to put the pedal down a little harder, I found myself just going one and done a lot because I just feel like I'm going to get called down too much. I mean, only in these last few years have I found an effective strategy, and I think it's an effective strategy of mixing in checks on the flop and turn and still getting aggressive later, bluffing on the river, or just any combination of how you play the hand. It's probably partially influenced by the fact that the pool is always developing, the pool is always evolving. Whether they're getting that much better or not is, that's up for debate, but their tendencies are always changing. So I guess back in these times where I tried to play laggy and just, raising a lot, just raising wide and then like starting to barrel, like I didn't want to triple because it just feels like I'm going to get called down, but it feels like if I check at some point, the bluff's going to lose anyway. So I'm just feel so handcuffed either way, and just playing a style that with a wide range of hands and showing up with all kinds of raises and check raises and overbets and spots that I normally, would never be making those kinds of moves in. So everyone just plays what comes natural to them. And so if you feel that you're not a lag, I mean, how would you describe your own style? Like, would you call yourself a tag player?
I mean,
I would call myself a tag player. I don't know if anyone would call you a tag player.
I try to, I don't know how much of this is true versus maybe just a delusional self-perception, but I really don't think of myself as categorized in any of those sort of ways. Ideally, I just go and try to assess how the table is playing and figure out what style for me is going to best counteract whatever they're doing, So, but I always would prefer to play looser if I can. So sometimes I might, out of wishful thinking, start off playing a little too loose until I realize it's not really the kind of table I can get away with that.
Well, you're playing loose. Are you 3-betting a lot or just opening a lot? Or would you say it's a mix of both?
Well, honestly, I mean, pardon me for one moment. I feel like that viral clip of Elon Musk smoking a joint on the Joe Rogan podcast. Except no one can see me right now.
I forgot what we were talking about.
What was the question?
Were we talking about were we talking about poker? Beavis, we were talking about whether or not you're a lag.
Okay, so I mean, I'll just try to be as honest as I can on this podcast and say most of my poker career, I've just been kind of getting by on whatever tricks I did have up my sleeve, but I guess the point I want to make is I've been way better at grinding than I have been at studying. So I actually don't think there's been a lot of leaks I've had for a long time that I should have cleaned up years ago. And just around the beginning of this year, I kind of did a study deep dive more so than I normally do. And even then I realized I was not really always playing the right style for the type of game I was in, what with the rake structure and big blind ante versus no big blind ante and stuff like that. And I really learned some of the differences on what I was supposed to be doing there. And so I'm embarrassed to say 10 years into my poker career, I'm finally learning some of these things that you would think I would know by now.
Yeah, I think about some of the plays I've made over the years, especially when I was playing higher in my first 7 some odd years in Vegas. And when I think about some of the things I've done, it's hard to believe that I was actually a winning player. I mean, it makes me think how bad was the rest of the pool to where I could be making this many egregious mistakes this frequently. And not only am I not losing, not only am I not the biggest loser in the whole pool, I'm winning. It's I know just what you mean. I mean, I'm trying to think of an example, but there's just a lot of spots, a lot of situations that have come up these last few years that I know exactly what to do or not do, and how many fucking times, over how many fucking years, was I making this incredibly obvious mistake. And even if everybody else is making it, it doesn't matter. You're still fucking off equity in EV or whatever fucking fancy term I'm supposed to use in this sentence. You're just fucking it off, because I'm like you. I don't study the game that much, looking at charts and really diving into the theory. I mean, I just don't seem to learn very well that way. I study the game through reflection, just thinking about hands, just thinking about things that happen, talking to other players, and just picking out little bits of information from a wide pool of people. And I just get better that way. When I look at a chart, it looks like a foreign language to me. I mean, it's how am I going to remember any of this? I feel like I'm not going to know when I'm supposed to apply any of this. It's interesting to hear that you won't confirm or deny that you have a lag style. I mean, I'm not trying to convince you that you're in denial of being a lag, but I'm sure you recognize that oftentimes people think that you are being a laggy player and that you're crazy and that whether you're crushing the game or getting crushed, that a lot of people are going to think you're really bad. I mean, you don't tell me you don't know that. What's it like being in the game when everyone thinks you're bad? Because when I'm in the game, everyone thinks I'm the best player in the world. I'm like God. It's not that everyone thinks you're bad, but what's it like being in the game where there's multiple players, including regs, who think that you're this huge fish? What's it like? It's just another thing to adapt to. So how do you adapt to that? What's going on? Because everyone thinks I'm the nuts. I don't know what it's like for people to think I'm a fish.
Dan, this is the first I'm hearing that people think I'm a big fish. What do you guys say behind my back? Oh my god, I'm gonna have a crisis after this show.
This is why, Brent, you can't tell that other people think you're a fish.
No,
you see some of these fucking hands you turn over?
I think I'm pretty attuned to like how people are perceiving me at the table, but yeah, I generally think that people are like, it's like you said in the intro, like, oh, when Brent's at the table, I might have to plan like around him and what he might do. I sort of sense people thinking that when I'm there, like, and so I kind of, I guess the difficult part is like how are they going to react to that? You know, how are they? I don't worry if someone thinks I'm bad. You know, that to me is just funny. You know, they might even be right. You know, and it's still funny. But like, you know, the whole like this corny phrase, "A lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of sheep." You know,
yeah,
it's kind of the like attitude you can't go around like being insecure about if other people think you're bad at poker at the table. You know, I in fact I would say. That is, if I were to name some of my poker strengths and weaknesses or whatever, one of these strengths would be my absolute disregard for like caring what anyone else thinks of me. Like I care what my table image is insofar as how I need to respond to that when I'm playing. But as far as like impressing anyone or wondering if they thought what I did was stupid, like I don't really care about that or worry about that at all.
I don't either. I mean, but what I mean more is like, what do you, how do you adapt to it? If you get the sense that someone thinks you're fishy, forget about what the lion thinks of the sheep, just what kind of adjustments does it tend to lead to? You know what I mean? I mean, they could think you're bad. I mean, to say you're bad is just a very general statement. It's like, it doesn't specify what you're bad at. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that thinking you're a fish isn't really enough information. You know, you need to know what kind of leaks they think you have and how they're going to try to take advantage of that. So, yeah, in my case, I think people think I'm more laggy than I probably actually am in reality. So I try to use that discrepancy to my advantage, and especially when when I've already been playing with someone for hours and I can tell I've sort of been like leaning on them and they're ready to make a stand or whatever, you know. I might like not run the big bluff or whatever and just hope to get paid if I can make something to put it in a very basic like term.
I mean, when you're being misperceived by somebody, as long as they think X when you're doing X, when you're doing Y, then that's the biggest advantage you can have. I mean, I feel like we always have our best shot at winning a big pot right after we just lost a big pot because people are, you know, waiting for you to start tilting or they think you're about to. And that actually reminds me of a streak. My first year in Vegas, I was playing 10-20 a lot. I'm not kidding. It happened like 10 or 15 times in the course of a couple of months. Someone would lose a huge pot and then promptly catch a huge hand against me in like the ensuing orbit. And how many times are I'm like, I really don't fucking think he's bluffing this time, but how many times do people show up with bluffs right after they lose a huge pot? I call and they just fucking had it. Every time. I mean, the variance is just so fucking spooky sometimes. You don't even know what you can't even remember what you were talking about. What was I just talking about? I was talking about, oh yeah, I remember.
Glad one of us remembers.
Yeah, I think, I remember a time I was playing in LA where, you know, I was running bad for a while and I was looking pissed off, but I'm fine, okay? I wasn't that upset about anything. I was playing okay. And then there was this girl I was talking to after the game, a girl who I never started dating, never went on a date with, but it was like always close to happening. It just never happened. And I've never dated a poker player. I don't want to date a poker player. I think that there's just too many things that can go wrong too soon or too late. We were arguing about some hand. Oh yeah, she made a really terrible payoff against me in a spot where it's like, I wish I could have a bluff here, but I don't. I am completely imbalanced. You are getting fucked so hard if you pay this off. And I wasn't even like belittling her at first. It was when she started like, I don't remember the conversation that well, but she was just telling me about, like, 3 people told me you're on tilt. I was like, 3 people told you that? I was like, then I started thinking, I was like, God, no wonder I've been winning all these years. I was like, how many times have people thought I was on tilt just because I have a resting bitch face? It's the best thing is when people are just waiting to pick you off bluffing, and you know that, and you're just never going to show up with a bluff in those spots. Every big pot they call you in, you're just going to have it.
Yeah, I probably do still try to get the bluff through more than I should. But, yeah, everything you said was good there. And I really relate to the whole being perceived as tilting when you're not even tilting. I feel like that one happens to me a lot. I think you and I you're kind of my kindred spirit in some of these things with, I think you and I are perceived similarly at the table as kind of like curmudgeons who just don't give a shit. We're just there to go to war, and we don't care about like schmoozing up the whales or anything, and we don't really care about either of us is happy to like say something like antagonistic to someone who's been out of line at the poker
someone
table.
Someone who deserves, someone who completely deserves it.
Yeah, they've been misbehaving in a certain way, and like, well, I'll be the one to say something to them, you know? And so I kind of like meeting and befriending other people like that in poker, and so I'm glad, you know, our paths crossed. And like you said in the intro, like, it took a long time, and most of the friends I have in poker, it takes a while to actually become friends with them, because everyone starts off as my enemy, you know?
Yeah.
You're a combatant in this war, you know, at the table. And it takes a while to, you know, break through that with someone, you know, playing with them dozens of times. Like, you finally strike up a friendship, like, naturally, but...
Yeah, and it's funny when you become friends with someone while you're playing, because even if you don't even talk a lot of strategy with them, when you play it against them the next times, the metagame war starts anyway. I mean, it just starts from somewhere. It's because your relationship with each other is not the same anymore. You're still combatants, but you also know each other and you're friends, and it's as though all these unconscious things you've been learning about them are suddenly coming into play when you're in hands against them, and that's what starts the metagame. Whereas before, this is just some guy. Like, you were just some fucking asshole, and I'm just trying to beat you, and that's it. That was the whole story. And I don't really try to make friends when I'm playing poker. I mean, it's nice to have friends, but I kind of just like trying to ruin your day. Like,
Exactly.
that's like, where I'm never going to top that relationship with you. Like, the relationship I have with you right now, me wanting to slit your throat, no matter how good of friends we become, it'll never be more exciting than when I first saw you and just wanted to drop you.
Well, I think I'm honored. Thank you, Dan.
Oh, you're most welcome.
I hope you never get that throat-slitting moment, but you're free to fantasize about it.
Thank you. So, as I've talked about on the show, there's a lot of players who have come to like me over time. Some of them might like me at first if they just catch me in a funny moment, or if there's something we both like. You know, I just can start on the good side of some people. I mean, that probably happens at a low frequency, but it only in the last couple of years has it occurred to me, wow, I think a lot of players actually fucking hate me at the table, whether I said anything to them or not, you know. Like you said, we have that whole curmudgeon thing going on. So, since you also live with being perceived as a heel sometimes, I mean, I haven't really had a chance to talk to anyone else about it. I just live with it. So now I'm just kind of ask you as my therapist. I mean, you go through this also to some degree. But what's it like? What tends to start the argument with you and other players?
It's funny because I'm just used to this by now, and it has gotten worse over the last year with the whole anti-straddle thing. But I'm a person who enjoys being liked. I would rather make a good impression on someone than a poor impression on someone. But I also am not willing to like trade something else that's important to me in order to make that happen. So basically, like, when there's a clash of values between me and someone else at the poker table, I'm just happy to let that clash happen, you know what I mean? And not like, I feel like I have just as much a right to like speak my mind as anyone else there, you know? And I'm a player paying rake in the game, and a very experienced player who has a right to speak into issues at the poker table, I feel like. So I kind of face those potential conflicts head on generally, rather than like avoiding them.
Yeah, are there any recent examples, or even not recent examples, where something started with you and another player?
Okay, so one of the things I do at the poker table that is somewhat could be perceived as a heel behavior or antagonistic is I very strongly disagree with this cultural norm of giving someone a courtesy show at Showdown. For instance, when there's been a bet and a call on the river, and the player who bets just says, "Oh, you're good," and they expect the other player to show their hand. I just do not enable that at all. I go by order of Showdown, and so when I'm the one who's last to show their hand, and I've called the other player's bet, or the river went check or whatever, if the other player is first to show, I am not going to show my hand. They have to table their hand or muck it. And so, most people are cool with doing that, but every once in a while someone will say, "Yeah, I have 10 high," and I'm just sitting there like, cards speak, your words don't mean anything, And so I'm like, table or muck. I usually just say table or muck, And so, but this often will like, they'll want to buck up to me and like make a fight out of it, Like they think I'm personally like attacking them in some way, or like trying to like start something.
Yeah, it's just the constant entitlement. People, I mean, men truly are. I actually think women probably do this a lot less at poker. I mean, I know we play with women a lot less, but like, it's just like you could spit and hit some guy who's going to act that way at Showdown. Just be a total baby. Because men really are like total fucking babies. Maybe that goes hand in hand with like running the world, right? Because if they didn't get their way, they would cry so hard they just had to run the world. So that's... we would get more into that later, perhaps. I don't know, just thinking out loud here. But yeah, it's like they think you owe them something or that their word is good enough. I mean, 10 high, they could have 10 deuce, and they don't want to show that they have 10 deuce. They want you to think that they have 10-9 or something not embarrassing, and it's just... It's just people fail these little tests one day at a time where they're put in a situation where they face some adversity and they have to accept a little bit of failure and they just can't do it. I do exactly what you do. I say show or muck it. Like, yeah. What are you looking at me for? It's like, I've seen you lose bluffs. You do the same thing I do. You just turn your fucking cards over and you act like you've lost before and you act like the whole fucking world doesn't need to come coddle you because you lost. You just turn your fucking hand over.
You were so right about the entitlement, and that's what I think is actually just one of my biggest pet peeves in life is like people acting like with entitlement just really rubs me the wrong way, and I get this petty urge to like deny to somehow block whatever it is they're after.
No, it's just like fuck you. You're not getting away with this shit today.
It's not even. It has nothing to do with like. Really, I want the information of what their cards were specifically, or some fear of getting slow rolled. Like I'll turn over the winner, what I think is the winner, and then they'll slow roll me. I mean, I feel like I'm impervious to being slow rolled. That doesn't really bother me. To me, it's entirely about the principle of it. Like by rule, you are to show first. So where do you get off thinking that like you're going to do neither show your hand nor muck your hand, but retain a live hand while passing the action to me, and then I'm going to do something. It's like, nowhere in the rules of poker does it say a hand has to be shown at Showdown. So, like, neither of us has to show a hand, So if you don't want to show your hand, I'm happy to not show my hand as well. Like, you're the one deciding, as the player who's first to show, you're the one driving the action here. Whatever you do, if you turn over a hand, and I can match or beat that hand, I will turn over my hand. But until a hand is turned over in front of me, I'm doing absolutely nothing with my hand, which is my right as per the rules of poker, And another thing that in this situation, so I'm really ranting here. Feel free to cut me off and
this is why we're here. This is why we're here. I'm just thinking about what I'm going to do later and tomorrow while I listen to this. Go on.
Gosh. Well, now I lost my thought. What was I saying?
Well, it'll come back to you. I'll just take it away from you. See, you fucked your own rant up. I'm just gonna.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes there'll be this like Mexican standoff, where the player clearly is not getting the message that they need to either table or muck their hand, so they're just sitting there, and this situation is getting worse. Tensions are rising, and this is where I really blame dealers too for not like taking control. Like the dealer needs to prompt the actual player whose turn it is to do something. Instead of sitting there and waiting for the players to resolve it amongst themselves. And like, I just want to make clear, like, people might have a different perception, but I think the player in my shoes in this kind of situation is never the one delaying the game, causing the holdup in the game. It is entirely the other player who is deciding to do neither of their two
obligations.
Exactly.
And now expect you to take over it.
Yeah, and I also hate this like a lot of people operate by this theory. This is another clash of values I have with other poker players where I'm in the minority compared to how most people think, but most pros would they really feel this sense of duty to retain the big whales and recreationals and keep them whatever makes them happy and keeps them coming back. So a lot of players will say something like, well, of course you're going to make your fellow professional like table or muck their hand, but with the whale you should just show your hand, man. Just keep the whale happy. Who cares? Even that is something I disagree with. I cannot get on board with that.
I was going to say, I was going to ask and also say that when I'm in this situation, when I'm with a really fishy player, I will give more breaks in spots like this. If he says 10 high, I'm just going to turn my hand over. If it's not because I think he's going to leave the game, because I don't. People always say you don't want him to leave the game. I can't think of a time I saw a fish leave a game because of something like this. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying I have personally never seen it, but I don't want to get on the whale's bad side. It could hurt my action. In that situation, I'll make an exception, but I am not doing it for these fucking regs who come in there who play all the time. This is their life, and now think of all people, another reg owes them this favor. And I'm going to tell you something else. I want to hear why you don't care about this with the whales. I'm going to say something, though. If you're one of these fucking people listening to this show, if you're one of the fucking people we're talking about who it's your clear action to show, and you are coming up with every reason in the world why you don't need to do it, and it's okay for you to slow down the game and blame the other guy, all right? Either stop doing that or don't listen to the fucking show, because you do not deserve to hear any of the great content that goes on in this place if you're showing up to a fucking game and acting like that. If it's your turn, just turn over your fucking hand. This will not be the last time you lose, so get used to it.
You heard that right, folks. Dan does not want you listening to the show. If you're one of those people and you get caught listening to the show, you'll be hearing from Dan's lawyers.
I don't need your fucking ears listening to this fucking shit. If you're going to be one of these if you're one of the assholes we're talking about, get out of here.
While we're ranting about this, I also find it so funny, like, the illogicalness of it, for lack of a better word. How, like, we clearly know that you were bluffing by the fact that you won't show your hand. So, like, is the actual specifics of your two cards something that is so... Like, what is the point of, like, not showing it? Is it some kind of embarrassment? And if so, it's like... Well, that's like a mental health problem, because you're supposed to bluff in poker, and you're supposed to sometimes get caught bluffing. So, like, we know you're bluffing, but you don't want to show us your exact two cards, but why? Like, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, who cares?
I know. Bluffs. This was on Poker This happened on Poker After Dark a while ago. Tell me if you've ever seen this, where I think Jean-Robert Boulin calls Helmuth bluffing, and Helmuth doesn't want to show, and Boulin is insisting he take an action, because Boulin doesn't want to show either. He doesn't want to show if he doesn't have to, because if Phil mucks, JRB can muck, and that's what he's trying to do. And then Sam Grizzle was still alive. He said to Helmuth, he's like, he don't play like that. Like, you know, where Helmuth was wanting to get a bet going, he's like, we're going to take a bet on not what the rule is or what's right and wrong, bet on etiquette. They think it's really bad etiquette for you to insist that they play by the rules. That's essentially what they...
Wait, you're saying that they thought JRB was showing bad etiquette?
Yes, Helmuth thought JRB was showing bad etiquette because Helmuth was bluffing and he didn't want to show, and he thinks JRB, as a courtesy, as proper etiquette, is supposed to turn over the winning hand because at one time or another, that's the way it was done and that's the way men behaved. Which is kind of funny to think about, because back in the day also, they would play in these backroom salons where they would stick each other up. But you guys are so hell-bent on carrying out this other rule of etiquette on when someone gets caught bluffing. So it's okay to shoot you, but it's not okay to insist to see your hand when I catch you bluffing. Yeah, okay, whatever you guys say.
I just don't understand how this ever even originated, like, and then became had such a stranglehold on the culture.
I know, what is the big deal? You turn your fucking hand over, okay, he had this and he lost.
And if you don't want to show your hand, I actually understand that, but, like, then why
muck it and move on.
Why are you expecting to see the other person's hand? Just throw it in the muck.
Just muck it and
we'll
move
all
on.
Move on.
Okay, so why don't you extend this courtesy even to fishy players who,
The main reason, there's a couple of reasons. The main reason is I don't like having to put people in these different buckets and treat people differently. I want to behave in such a way where I can just treat everyone kind of the same, with the same courtesy and respect and baseline rules of etiquette that I think are appropriate, It's not like people are binary pro or whale. There's a whole spectrum, and people fall all along it. And you're going to have a lot of edge cases and gray areas, and someone who's like pretty tricky to play against, but probably is like break even at best or something. And okay, well, how do I treat that person, And I just really don't like having to have double standards for other people. And another thing, probably reason number 2, is what I talked about earlier with I really hate entitlement, and that's a pet peeve of mine. And I think so many of these whales feel entitled to special treatment at the table because they're self-aware. They know that they're whales, and they know people like playing with them, and so they expect to be able to get away with this stuff. And that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. You're not going to get away with anything just because of your reputation, who you think you are, and what you think you can get away with because of how soft you are or good you are for the game. You know what I mean?
It's all totally understandable, and obviously there's nothing incorrect about any of this, and it just seems a whole lot easier if you just treat everyone the same way and everyone follows the same rules. And in practice, in reality, it's just never going to be that simple. There's a lot of people who might be losing players, or probably losing players, but really overstate their case, and they're trying to act like they deserve this special VIP treatment when the reality is they're not that big of a loser. If they want to get straddle going, or if they want to do this, they want to do that, they feel like you owe it to them to say yes to everything they want. I mean, that's the entitlement. But the only thing they're entitled to is a pleasant atmosphere. I mean, technically they're not entitled to anything more than you're entitled to. But we know we don't have a game without fish. So we know it's important to just make this a pleasant experience. But please don't get it twisted into thinking that we now owe you favors on basic rules. I mean, you want to be thought of as a gentleman. I mean, I know you want all of us to think you're this wonderful whale who makes all this money and has all this integrity. You shouldn't give a shit about turning your fucking cards over when you lose. You shouldn't fucking care when it goes check, check. You got to show first. You ain't got nothing. You shouldn't care about that. They spend all this time crying and moaning about not showing their fucking cards when they could be putting that energy into figuring out how other people are playing so they can actually win the money and then let them deal with the losing. I mean, everyone, you only got so much energy and so much thought and brain power to put into stuff every day. So it's a matter of just proper allocation and proper selection. And some people go in there and they're going to fight you to the death on not showing their cards, but they'll never 3-barrel you. No, they'll never 3-barrel you because their thinking never goes that deep.
Wow, I finally get to see one of these rants in the flesh. I can see the steam coming out of your ears. This is quite something. So, here's another thing. Tabling your hand is not flashing your 2 cards to your specific opponent in the hand. It's laying both cards face up on the table. That's another thing. Sometimes people just want to flash me their hand. I'm like, that's not a tabled hand, Lay it down face up where everyone can see it. Everyone has a right to see what hand this was, as per the rules.
Is it so fucking difficult? I mean, in elementary school, they walk you to the end of the fucking hallway and have you stop at a door. The kids were able to do that. Why can't you just turn your fucking cards over? What, because you lost?
And here's another thing. As I said earlier, I have a clash of values. One of my, obviously most pros, basically their number one value is to squeeze as much money as they can out of the game. They want to make all the dynamics as profitable as possible for them. For me, obviously, yes, I'm interested in making as much money, or a lot of money, but maximizing my win rate at the cost of everything else is not something I'm interested in doing. So I'm very much aware of trade-offs that I might make that might hurt my bottom line in the medium term or long term, but which I think bring me more peace of mind and bring the game closer to what I want it to be. Basically, I want everyone to respect the integrity of the rules of the game and stuff. And so a lot of these whales, big whales though they may be, they break a lot of basic rules that kind of gets under my skin too, like acting in turn. Whales are always they'll just fold their hand and go walk off to the bathroom, even though they're like in the cutoff.
A lot of regs do that too.
You know, and
that
stuff
really
like that
irritates
is
me.
annoying to me. And it's like, I don't care how big of a whale you are. If you're gonna casually disrespect the game, think you're so important you don't have to follow the rules, then I don't care if you're a whale. Like I'd say good riddance to you if you can't follow the rules.
Yeah, so. It's purely jerking their ego off. And even as you were saying it, I was like, as much as I want to win, as much as I want to crush, as much as everything, there are just certain points of selling out that it's not even a decision instinctively. Like, I just think, no, we're not doing that. I'm not doing this for you. Absolutely not. I don't care. There's a lot of women who don't fuck for money. I mean, a lot of them do now, and more each day, it seems, but a lot of them don't. And it just feels like I'm literally bending over for some of these people. I'll give you an example of this. I was playing 50-100 a long time ago, 12 years ago, and we had this whale, this hotel owner guy, going through some kind of crisis. I mean, this guy lost a ton of money, I think at least $1 million over a few months.
Wow.
Yeah, and the win 5-10 was still no cap. It started out with that, then it was 10-20, then it was 50-100, then it was 100-200. And, I got a few different shots at him. I played 25-50 with him at the Bellagio once, too. And one night I was playing 50-100, though. It was a 20K min. This is the biggest game I ever sat in. And when he was away from the table and coming back, he didn't have to post his big blind. or the small blind either. He didn't have to post 150. He could just come back in for free. And it's a situation where no one's going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. But it's like, God, you fucking guys just want to be pampered and just you want your fucking dick sucked. It's like you can just get a fucking escort to do that. You don't need to go fuck off $1 million to these fucking scumbag poker players. You could at least get a BJ out of it or two.
Dan, you know how to squeeze a BJ out of every situation. One of the things I admire about you.
Yeah, well, I was going to get into that on the next episode.
Don't expect one during this podcast recording, though, I must say. The only BJ you're getting is Brent Jenkins.
Oh! I need more weed, but you can keep talking if you got something on your mind.
Okay. So another heelish behavior I tend to commonly participate in is... Here's the thing. If you don't like certain practices in the poker world, like, the only way it's going to change is if people, like, don't enable it, or they refuse to participate in it. And one of the things I hate is when people come to the table with big chips expecting the rest of the table to make change for them, or when they bust and they just pull out cash and they expect somebody to sell them chips in the meantime until the chip runner comes. Like, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up because I remember seeing that in your manifesto when you led it was like the American Revolution against straddles. And when I read that in the manifesto about players coming to the table with large denomination chips and either expecting other players to give them change, or they just sit there with, at the 2-5 case, they'll sit there with a yellow and a purple and they're just playing and they're just waiting for chips and it's packed and it's going to take a good 5 or 6 hands for their chips to get there. And it's just this little mini nuisance you have to deal with. And when I make change for other players, I mean, I'm not superstitious about having all the chips I've won still in front of me, but it's just like, why can't you just go get your fucking chips?
That's another... Yes,
Doesn't
exactly.
the Bellagio have a rule for your initial buy-in? You have to go to the cage?
The Bellagio, I don't know. I haven't played there in quite some time. But, yeah, that's the thing. It's the entitlement of, like, just expecting the table to combine to become your cashier. And I really don't like that the poker rooms allow this either. I think they should just make people go... They can't get dealt another hand until they have more chips. So anyway, as someone who doesn't like that practice, I can't really just agree to make change for people if I don't agree with it being a thing in the first place that they should be doing, So sometimes I'll tell someone no, and they never encountered someone who just wouldn't change out their big chip for them before. And so it creates a little conflict, or like, why is this guy being an asshole for no reason,
Right, exactly. It gives us situations to get into arguments, whereas if you have strict rules up front that prevent it from happening. I mean, you gotta treat everybody like little fucking kids, because that's what they fucking act like.
This one happened the other day. So I stacked someone, and this player was going to rebuy, but instead of shipping me the chips that they had in their stack, he started pulling out cash and was like, oh, I'm gonna hold on to these chips, and so he's gonna give me cash equivalent to the amount that I stacked him for, right? But I told him I didn't want any cash. I wanted the chips I just rightfully won from him, you know? And he just like, okay. He's like called me an asshole or something. I can't remember. But like, here's the thing. Like, if I have cash now, guess what I'm going to have to do? The chip runner's going to have to go trade it in for more chips for me. And guess what I don't like to do? Stiff a chip runner, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to have a chip runner go change out cash for chips, I want to tip them. But guess what? Nowhere along the way did you offer to cover my tip, you know? You said, here's some cash. Am I going to go in the hole on tipping someone so that for your convenience so that you didn't have to go to the cage? Like, no. If someone actually offered me, like, hey, and here's another extra $1 for the chip runner, I actually would appreciate that, and I would be happy to help them out. But no one thinks about that.
Yeah,
you know?
there's just this expectation that once you lose, it unlocks all the favors you're now owed. And it's just, you're not owed any fucking favor. I mean, does the game itself, with the way the variance runs out, does poker appear to owe you a favor?
Yeah.
Then why would the players?
I love the inherent design of poker. It's such a brutal, unfair game in its own right, but yet so righteously fair in the grand scheme and the structure of it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's so beautiful. And I don't like how people want to bend the rules this or that way in a way that really ruins the beauty of it to me.
Yeah, a few years ago I was playing at Caesars where the cap was 2.5 cap was still 1,000. Then they went to 500. Now they're like now they're back at 2,500. I don't know what they're doing, but there was a guy who busted out and he pulls out $100 and the minimum is 200. And people, when they bust out and they want a short buy, do act like they should be given some entitlement for this.
No.
And absolutely not. Everyone said no. Everyone said no. I'm sorry. Everyone said yes. And I was like, no, like it's 200. Get 200 up. And because of that, he had to leave. The dealer wouldn't let him play. He didn't have another $100. And I was like, he's walking away and he's like, he didn't get like mean. He was like, not cool, bro. And I just said to him, I was like, if you want to play for $100, there's like a whole room full of tables that will allow you to do that. This is the 2.5. Here it's 200. 1-2 is 100. 2.5 is 200. That's how it works. And it happened a long time ago. I was playing 5-10 in Florida where the minimum was 500. A guy hadn't given any action to the game. He sits down. He's like, hey, do you guys mind if I buy in 300? $200 below the fucking minimum. And the whole table, I don't know why the whole table says, all right, yeah, no problem. I feel like at least half of them don't want to say no, but are afraid to say no. So I say no, and I make him pull out, and what do you think happened? 1, 2, 3, he has another $200. So he gets the opportunity to win all the money on the table by buying him for $200 below the minimum. That's what he was trying to do when he has the $200 with him the whole time. And he said it at the table. He's like, he's fucking asshole. I said the same thing to him. I was like, if you want to play for $300, it's right behind you. And then later on, I doubled him up. I was like, good thing you had that extra 200, right? You think I gave a shit that I made him buy him for $200? And you know there's all these fucking morons out there like, oh, that's karma. That's the punishment you get for wanting to play by the rules.
Man, another classic Dan rant. Couldn't agree more. And yeah, the minimum buy-ins are very important. Minimum and maximum. You know, I appreciate dealers who nip that in the bud and don't leave it up to the players to say something.
Yeah, a lot of dealers, you know, they don't teach them in dealer school anything about how to take charge of situations, how to deal with players arguing or, you know, confusion in the hands, or when people are going back and forth about showdown, or just when someone gets stacked and how many arguments you see over getting the last dollar because the dealer didn't just take the dollar themselves and put it in the pot. There's so few dealers who do everything right, or do just about everything right. I mean, everybody else has, even if they can run the game well enough, have a multitude of weaknesses.
Yeah, I try to remind myself, maybe sometimes I'm too hard on them. I never had to do the job, and it might not be as easy as I think sometimes. But, like, yeah, so many dealers are just checked out. They're not really mentally engaged in the way they need to be. They're just going through the motions, and it's understandable. It's human nature. You know, you go to a job every day, and it's hard to stay locked in. But let me use this opportunity to give a shout-out to the Win, who has, like, they're not perfect, but they are far and away the best dealers and floor staff of any poker room I've ever played in. So, yeah, that's one area. One of the things I love about the Win, why it's my favorite poker room, the staff is just so competent and professional. and proactive about a lot of these things. Certainly not perfect, as I said, but better track record than anywhere else I've ever played.
Yeah, I agree that the Wynn Poker Room is the best run room. They had great dealers for a while, and then they went really backwards for a long time. They've come back a little bit. I don't get over there that much, but whenever I see the Aria dealers, I'm generally very impressed with them. I mean, there's always going to be some variance with who's dealing to you, because you could hit a string of really new fishy dealers, or you could hit a string of ones who are great. But yeah, for all the complaints I have, and I'll never run out of them, the alternative to the Wynn is not preferred.
I just want to give a shout out to some of the good behaviors. Like, one of the things I appreciate most about dealers is just being proactive about, like, enforcing something and not leaving it up to players to do. Like we just said about the buy-ins, enforcing the buy-ins. Also, the way people arrange their chips. You know, it's so rare to see a dealer just proactively say, "Do you have blacks in the back there? You need to move those out front, man." You know, and but I like to throw a dealer a tip when they do something like that. You know, I feel like that's the best time to tip the dealer and positively reinforce some of these kind of things, you know?
Yeah, then stiff them on a double up.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's something you mentioned before, that you said you haven't ever done the job, so you don't want to be too hard on dealers. Well, since I have done the job, I have become much harder on dealers. In fact, before I started dealing, I was pretty, I wouldn't say unaware of what they were doing, but I definitely wouldn't get irritated with them that much, because I guess I just, without even thinking about it, I was like, yeah, I haven't done their job, so, you know, I don't know. But having done it, it's so much easier to now spot laziness and incompetence and just an overall disinterest. And, you know, 1 second may not seem like a long time, because by the time you're done saying 1 second, a second has pretty much passed. But time is still a relative thing, and when action is supposed to take place from the dealer and there's even 1 second of a delay, you fucking perk up and you're like, what the fuck? And it's totally understandable, because you're in the middle of a fucking battle right now and you're being distracted by this fucking dealer, and this doesn't happen once every couple of years, okay? How many seconds add up? A second here, 3 seconds there, 4 seconds here, 2 seconds here. So after a while, this is a bunch of minutes. And how long does it take to play a hand? Couple minutes. So you're just there. I mean, like they say, time is money. It's like, you stop fucking with us by not paying attention. It's like, it's such a strange responsibility, because the dealer doesn't want to, like, be this referee, but it's like their job is much more, it has a much greater responsibility than a lot of people even realize. It's like, you don't have to. You're not supposed to pay attention because it's your job. You're supposed to pay attention because there's a fucking war going on. Like, and they're gonna fucking start shooting at you if you're fucking like, like, just thinking about some dumb shit. And then they get pissed off when you don't fucking tip these people. They act like their fucking shuffle is the reason you won. Like, the first summer I dealt at the World Series, I had a front row conversation with another dealer, some fucking white guy who, just straight out of dealer entitlement school. Like, he's like, when I deal you a hand and it's like, and you win this big pot, it's like, my shuffle, like, you owe me for that shuffle. I was thinking, like, he doesn't owe you shit. What about the asshole who just lost all the money? I was like, well, do you owe him anything? Because your shuffle fucked him every bit as hard as it helped him. And I'll tell you something else. This, out of all the things that pissed me off about anything, about any dealer in any fucking game, nothing fucking pissed me off more than this. And it didn't even involve me. This fucking guy, I have never seen such pathetic dick-sucking soliciting for tips, okay? This guy wins a big pot, and then, like, a few hands later, and the dealer says, like, I don't know, he's having some giddy goo-goo-goo laughing with the players, and then he says something like, oh yeah, maybe if I deal you another set. And then I was just thinking, are you fucking serious? Like, it's the guy who just lost this pot. He's sitting right over there. It's like, maybe he doesn't want to think about this any longer than he has to, so maybe he doesn't want to hear the dealer talking about it. The dealer! He got the dealer, trying to get more tips. Like, yeah, he got that set against a human being, you idiot. It's like,
who you're now needling
by
saying
exactly
what you're saying right now.
It doesn't matter if the player has headphones or anything. It doesn't, like, you just cannot fucking do that. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
I mean,
I almost said something. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him and thought, I'm going to remember this.
Yeah, dealers whining about their tips and soliciting for more tips, that's never a good look. Very, very
God,
bad.
It's so God.
And, one of the most annoying things other players can do is tip shame you or anyone else as well. They don't think you tipped enough. They have no idea what goes into your holistic tipping strategy or what your opinions are of a particular dealer, So you're right as a player is to tip the dealers you think do a poor job less and tip the dealers you like who are really professional and do a good job more.
It's not something for nothing. I mean, we don't, as poker players, we don't win money if we don't care about what we're doing. We don't get paid an hourly, but like we're not going to win as much as we can if we don't give a shit. It's the same thing for us as it is for everybody else. So it's like if you don't fucking give a shit about your job, what do you want from me? Like then why should I give a shit? Fuck me.
Yeah. So basically, my tipping strategy is 100% tip stiff every dealer across the board all year long. But at Christmas time, they each get a $5 Starbucks gift card.
Yeah.
And I think that is more than generous.
I couldn't agree more. So, all right. Brent, you gave me a good workout today. Thanks a lot for coming in. It was a good talk. We'll be love to have you back someday. And, we could talk these stories for days. I mean, I think about the ranting and is whether or not this is good for me. And maybe it's not, but maybe it is too. Maybe it's like neutral. Maybe it's like doing a flip. It's just even money proposition. Because it's like not good to get angry, but at least I'm being honest, right? So don't they kind of work together and offset? What do you think?
Yeah, if you're not venting about it, then it's going to come out in some less desirable form,
You're right.
Hard drugs or something way worse.
That's true.
Turning to all the worst vices.
Yeah. Oh, God. Well, thank you again, everybody, if you made it to the end of this. This is Brent Jenkins. Don't fuck with him with any bullshit. Imagine if the two of us got into an argument. Boy, that would have been the clash.
The problem is we agree on everything.
I know. That's why if we got into an argument, it'd have to be pretty fucking serious.
Baseball. That'll be the thing.
Yeah.
Braves versus Mets.
Braves and don't start. All right. Well, Brent Jenkins. I called him fucking Brankin.
Brankin. I like that.
Good,
let's start getting Brankin going.
It's good weed. Yeah, that should be like your license plate. Well, this is Brent Jenkins, everybody.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
You are most welcome, and we'll talk again soon.
All right.
We'll see you next time.